Good afternoon. My next slide was really going to be, I practiced it all and I forgot that I wrote it down, so thank you, Dave. Yeah, if you want to know more about the best and worst burgers in the Salt Lake Valley, mightymorsel.hesto2.com, or come find me after, because I enjoy talking about that, usually more than I enjoy talking about tech, and I like talking about tech a lot. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah, as mentioned, the title of this talk is In the Loop, but Out of the Hierarchy. What do I mean by that, and what do I hope you take away from this? At a high level, I want to help everyone understand what it means to be a high-impact engineer. A super broad topic. Stay with me. I promise we'll get somewhere cool, hopefully. But to do that, I'm going to help you understand what moving the needle can look like and what you can do to develop some of the skills and tools that you need in order to actually move said needle. In other words, I could present to you my refactored slide title of, "This is Carter's highly opinionated take on how to be a kick-ass engineer regardless of title, tenure, Vim usage, or the number of green boxes on your GitHub profile." My wife hated this. She designed all the slides for me, and she's like, "This looks so terrible. Like, you're going to roll with it." I was like, it's funny. I like it. So, what does it mean to be in the loop but out of the hierarchy? I define being in the loop as when you're in a position where you can influence what you work on and how you work on it. You may not have complete control over it, but you have some say over your destiny to a degree. When you can do this when you're technically not in charge of picking the what or the how, that means you're in the loop but out of the hierarchy. But Carter, that sounds great, but it turns out I actually want to be out of the loop and out of the hierarchy. It sounds like a lot of work now that I think about it. Why should I care? A fair concern. For the more apathetic amongst you, I'm right there. But it turns out when you have a greater degree of control over your own destiny and what you're working on, you're going to have more job security, you'll have more job satisfaction, and typically opportunities flock to those that just try a little bit harder, or at least are more effective with their efforts. Other side of the coin, Carter, turns out I actually want to be in the loop, that's great, and I also want to be in the hierarchy. Maybe you want to pursue the leadership track of engineering. That's great, I've done the same thing, I've enjoyed it, happy to talk to you about it. The first question I would ask you to ask yourself before we go with the rest of this presentation is, why? Why do you want to be in leadership? Why do you want to be in the hierarchy? Most of the reasons you'll find roll up under some form of, I want to be part of the decision-making process. I have some good ideas on how we can improve. I want people to respect me or listen to me. And a common one I also hear that I really like is, I want to help other engineers grow and develop and learn to be better engineers. I propose that actually all of those reasons, you can pursue all of those regardless of whether you have the leadership title or not. And that's a focal point of what I'm trying to address with this presentation today. I'd also say that it's really good to start developing some of those muscles and those maneuvers before you actually have the assignment. It makes it a lot easier for somebody who is looking to promote someone to say, yes, employee A, B, or C has started doing these already. It is way easier for me to promote them or assign them into this leadership role. So, a few areas we're going to explore. We're going to talk about getting in the loop, what you have to do to get there, and then essentially what you do once you're there. What must one do to be in this loop you speak of, Carter? Do I have to lead an army to the black gates of the CEO's office and I'll have some big opinions to share with him? Do I have to stand as a symbol after the bureaucracy equivalent of the Hunger Games? Do I have to do whatever this guy does? I haven't seen Braveheart, but it looks cool. Do I have to? No, we're not going to do that one. Rather, I would propose that what you have to do to get in the loop or earn that ability to influence things looks a lot more like this beautifully AI-generated image. Maybe not just like this, lest you bring down the wrath of HR upon you. But it turns out if you treat it like this, like trying to be a really good teammate, trying to partner with those you're working with, put your hands upon their hands on the keyboard, you're going to have a lot more success with influencing things rather than trying to earn your way into the loop by climbing to the highest mountain and fetching a purple flower for everyone. Here goes the entire foundation of my talk, though. Egad, the loop is a lie. It's not real. There is no group of masked individuals that meet under the cloak of darkness in the boardroom to decide what KPIs should we track. No one's deciding, in a secret environment what retros should look like or what the roadmap's going to be. Sure, there's conversations, there's closed-door conversations around a lot of strategy, but all this should be public knowledge anyways. It's what we're building after all, right? We can't build something that's a secret. So it turns out being in the loop is actually more of a behavior than a destination. You can choose to concern yourself with some of these higher level concepts anytime you want. You just have to start asking yourself and others the right questions. So, what are some of these questions that we can ask? That's what we're going to get into on influencing the how. What is the how? What do I mean by that? I define the how as processes, practices, plans, anything else that starts with P because I really like the alliteration there, but I wasn't confident in any other ones I came up with. So if you have others, slide into my DMs. This could include things like testing, how we conduct our meetings, what meetings we conduct, which ones we don't have, what are the goals of these meetings, what's our code review strategy, a million other things. Pretty much everything that comprises the software development lifecycle, though. Really broad, but this is an area that engineers on the team will often overlook and leave to others. My team lead's got it, the manager got it, the CEO has this on lock. They'll figure out what stand-up should look like or how to make our 15 minutes every day more effective. But you'll find that if you concern yourself with these things and you start trying to figure out how to contribute and improve them, your ability to be in the loop but out of the hierarchy has increased dramatically. Okay, that's cool. How do I influence it? Step one is to master the current rule set. And by that, I mean look at the way that your team currently does things and do it that way. Pretty straightforward. Identify what excellence looks like in the current set of rules and pursue that. 2 reasons for this. One, it's really hard to propose changes to a system that you don't know anything about. It's hard to propose a refactor to a code base you've never worked in, right? The other one, it's a lot easier for those listening to you to hear your feedback and to hear your suggestions and take you a little bit more seriously. If you approach it this way, it'll take it a lot more from the angle of, hey, I have an idea. It'll put it more in the realm of, I have an idea for how we can improve this together, rather than the much more abrasive, this way sucks and like my way's better, let's do it that way. So this will all help you build trust, just embracing yourself in the current system and then learning how to do it well in that area. Once you do that, then it's time to start identifying problems and friction. You can do this before, take some notes, but now's the time to really dig in. You're gonna be informed here. Some questions you can ask yourself to help with this. What are the things that are keeping us from reaching our goals? What are we trying to accomplish as a team and what is slowing us down? Pay attention in your retros and your stand-ups. Pay attention to what's being said. Pay attention to what's not being said. Are there things that should be coming up that aren't necessarily coming up? And these are all providing you with the seeds of what you need in order to start growing some really good ideas for how to improve. Carter, we don't actually do stand-ups. That one's free. That's the first thing that you can provide to influence the how with your team. One of the things that I really like to ask members on my team is, if you were in charge, if it was your responsibility to figure all this stuff out, what would you do differently? And why? Selfishly, as a manager, I like this for a couple reasons. One, I like to ask for feedback in my one-on-ones, and usually when I say, what can I do better? People just give me a blank stare because, I don't know, maybe they're afraid I'm gonna fire them if they say the wrong thing or something. I probably can improve there. But I like this one because this actually takes the Carter out of the conversation, which is always a good thing. It allows us to collaboratively explore what it could look like in the employee A version of the team. And then we can, in a very safe environment, look at what they would change and why. So if you're curious where to start here, you don't have any ideas, but you want to have some ideas, you want to contribute, start with this question. Once you have some of these ideas, it's time to start proposing some changes. This whole next slide could really just be boiled down to don't be an ass, but I'll go one step deeper. Be collaborative, not combative. Make sure that whatever you are proposing, everybody on the team and everybody in that room understands that you're coming at this from the angle of, I'm trying to build the team. I'm trying to help us all grow and improve together. I'm not trying to build and improve myself. For the more academically inclined amongst you, here's an exercise that you can do. I'll be posting these slides later on the Slack and also on Twitter, so don't feel like you need to write all these down. But here's 9 or 10 items that tend to regularly go stale. The goals of the company may change, the needs of the business may have changed. We might be building stuff totally different than we were a year ago, but the way we do our stand-up has not been modified. We had a good presentation on code reviews, and we saw a little bump in how effective they were a little bit, but it's kind of gone stale again. Each of these areas are areas that you can really inject some life into if you just give it an ounce of thoughtfulness. We meet every day for 15 minutes to talk about what our blockers are, what we're doing today and what we did yesterday, et cetera. What is the actual goal that we're trying to accomplish there, though, and have we just started going through the motions with that? So food for thought. In short, though, come to view processes, plans, practices as an engineering problem to be solved. I'm not necessarily saying go and make a JIRA ticket for it. You could, it might be kind of cool. But treat it like test-driven process improvement. Identify what a test case is or what problem you're trying to solve. What's the test case? What does success look like? And how do I iterate on this until the test passes? I feel like there's like a cool sub-talk that could be given on test-driven development with processes. I kind of lack the confidence to make that swing, though, and make a full slide for it. But if you have ideas, slide into my DMs or come find me after. It could be an interesting conversation. So The other side of the coin, we are now masters of how we build software. The processes are processed, they are clean, and we're operating at peak efficiency. What are we going to build now? Let's define the what and what we're going to do to influence it. The what, I don't need to spend more time on this other than it's the work, it's the current roadmap. Simple as that. Carter, isn't this someone else's responsibility though? Shouldn't someone else be picking the what? Yes, definitely. Typically, engineering teams are not responsible for what they work on, and if they are, it's usually like more of a skunk works team or something. Pretty cool. But this can be a project manager, a product manager, a CEO if they're wanting to like step too many layers down maybe. A magic 8-ball you keep in the closet for when you're not sure what to work on next. But usually, like, engineers will let somebody else have some say over the high-level roadmap of what they're working on. I want to say, however, while it may not be your responsibility, it may still be your problem. This is a concept from one of my favorite books. I don't have a lot of business books I like, but Extreme Ownership is one of the few that have actually had an outsized impact on my career. Highly recommended. But they explore this concept of, sure, like it may be someone else's like responsibility, but if you are a consumer of their output, or if their decision-making impacts your ability to succeed, you have every incentive necessary in order to make sure that person is as successful as possible and that you partner with them so you really understand what they're trying to do. So how do I do that? How do I partner with them? How do I gain this context so that I can be there with them? Step one is to understand the company goals. What are we trying to do as a business? Usually this will take the form of, we need to make more money. We need to increase shareholder value. Heaven forbid we think of the customers and try and improve life for them, do something for them, but usually one of those things. The way you can do this, start paying attention in company meetings, ask a few people, but really look at what you're working on and start kind of tracing it all the way up to the top. How does my current sprint or the tickets I currently have in flight play into our overall objective? Do they? If they don't, it might be a good conversation to have with your manager so you can gain some context that you might be missing. Go on a little scavenger hunt with this. Another question you can ask that will help is, what does my manager care about? What are they being held accountable to? What do they need to worry about? That will also help inform some of the conversations you can have. A hypothetical scenario that we can run with for this is, let's pretend I work at a cybersecurity company called Jupiter 2. I work at Jupiter 1, it's a funny laugh. Thank you, Dave. Let's say I work at Jupiter 2, and the goal is to make more money. We want to sell a compliance product to a new segment of customers, and so cool. My team is responsible for building the user interface and the back end for that compliance product. Good enough, like that makes sense. The goals are there, we're building the user interface, like let's boogie, let's rock. Hold on, we actually want to be in the loop but out of the hierarchy, remember? So we're gonna go one step further. We want to understand the why. Why are we building a compliance product? Why is that important? Why is that the goal of the company? I'm not asking you to become a subject matter expert on everything, but let's talk about this a little bit. I've never hired somebody based on their cybersecurity or compliance framework experience. I've never asked somebody to describe what a SOC 2 framework or control is to me in an interview. However, the engineers on my team that are repeatedly the most successful with work like this, especially when it's going into a new domain, are the ones that have taken the time to understand the why. They take a little bit of extra time to gain context around the domain we're working in. There's a couple ways they do this. Number one, a few of them made new friends. They'll go and talk to people in sales, customer support. They'll even rub shoulders with a few of the upper leadership, asking them questions. We're working on this compliance product. What do you hope to gain from this? Why is that important to you? Is it important to you? Help me understand where you're coming from. For the more introverted amongst you, I have good news. The second one is just as valuable, if not a little more valuable. They'll also take some time to deepen their knowledge of the company's domain. When we worked on this compliance product, that looked like we would go and look up some articles online, brief ourselves on what SOC 2 is and all these other things, HIPAA, and really just kind of taking a lot of the lingo or the buzzwords we heard from the product managers in these briefings and really trying to figure out what they actually are. This is super valuable because that will help you then integrate this knowledge into your workflow in a couple of really important ways. You understand what the company's trying to do. You have the knowledge of the why now. What can you do with that? Step one, you're going to be able to stop treating your tickets like DoorDash orders. When I make an order on DoorDash, I don't care what the driver necessarily has to say, like, yeah, man, you probably shouldn't be ordering this much food at 1 o'clock in the morning, but like, this is yours. No, I make my order, pay them, and they do the work, and then they come back and bring it to me. That's great. Don't treat your tickets like that. We understand the what and the why now. We can approach it with a higher level of scrutiny. I'm not asking you or encouraging you to go and challenge things, but I'm rather saying, Turn this into more of a conversation rather than just a DoorDash order that somebody hands to you. Make sure that you're understanding the context that these tickets are being given to you from. Look at them from a higher level. Doing this is going to help you better partner with those responsible for the what. You'll be able to partner with the Magic 8 Ball or the product manager, if you will. That means you'll be spending a lot less time with these people, however, a lot less time with them trying to transfer knowledge and context from their heads into your heads. I don't know if you've ever gotten into like a review process with like a designer where it's just, you're 90% of the way there, but it's just back and forth in every little nitpick thing, and there's just some missing link there that is not being bridged, and this will help prevent that. In short, if you're doing this correctly, you'll find that your ability to deal with ambiguity and navigate complexity, the theme of the conference, there it is, will have greatly increased. I appreciate the one person that clapped, thank you. But you'll be able to spend less time going back and forth with designers or product managers or whoever the other stakeholders are trying to understand, and you'll be able to spend more time with them collaborating on a solution, which most of us here, if not all of us here, are engineers, and we don't just write code, we solve problems, and code is merely one component of solving problems. So here's another exercise. Take note, don't write everything down, but I'm not going to go through all these, but answering the following questions, I want to draw your attention to the last one here. All of these are valuable to reflect on to kind of start getting your head in the space of understanding the what and the why with the company and being able to influence it. But that last one is really telling. What do I do when I run into a ticket that's ambiguous? I don't know what to do here. Start asking yourself some questions like, what would have been more valuable for me to know here? What does the ticket lack? What does it need? And is that enough to actually give me the context to work on it? Should I be able to work on it with the level of ambiguity it has? Am I missing a piece? Is there something with the how that I can influence and tweak over here? Something with the process improvement that I can, or something with the process that I can improve in order to give this ticket the context that it needs for me to be successful on it. So I think that one's really valuable. If you're going to look at any of these, look at that one. All right, that was a lot. We got like 3 minutes left. We're in the home stretch. Let's recap. Step one, we got to get in the loop. We're not going to get distracted by the hierarchy. It turns out title, tenure, GitHub profile boxes, and everything like that don't matter. What matters is your ability to look at the objectives and aggressively try to move the needle in helping the company with what matters most to them. The last step, once you understand these objectives, is to actually focus on solving the problems. This is where you sit down, put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, and really figure out what you're going to do to help with that. Pretty straightforward. I don't know why I didn't just share this and save you guys 15 minutes. My apologies. Carter, this is the best talk I've heard since lunch, really. Like, this is great. Thank you. Thank you. However, right now, as it turns out, my team is being measured based on the total number of story points we complete, not the value we provide. And so I got to get back to it. They don't care whether we're actually providing value. They just want to see tickets moving through. That's fair. I've worked on a couple of teams like that. It's not fun. However, even if that is your North Star or the goal that you guys are pursuing, if done correctly, this is going to give you more time to succeed in that arbitrary metric as well. You'll be spending more time either writing code, less time in meetings, or the time that you spend in meetings are going to be more valuable because you're going to be helping make sure those meetings are meeting their objectives. They're going to help you with the work outside of those meetings. And if they're not, then that's a great how to improve, a great reason to raise a flag and say maybe this should change. You'll be spending less time going back and forth with people and more time being able to solve the problem and actually get to implementing. One of the things that I've done to really be able to do this is I schedule a recurring focus block on my calendar for a few times a week. It's just Carter's time to go and stare at his whiteboards and write notes. Don't schedule meetings here. And I would encourage you to go and just throw 30 minutes on your calendar. It doesn't even have to be recurring. Just throw it on 9 o'clock in the morning, start with that. And in that, if you're looking for somewhere to start, what do I do there? Start by going through some of the exercises that I'll post later. Start with asking yourself those questions and going through and seeing how you can improve some of those things we talked about earlier. One of the outputs from that meeting should be a format that you want to do for the next one, and maybe the one after that. But if you can get in the habit of giving yourself a sanctioned space to think about these things, you'll find that you now have everything you need in order to be in the loop, but out of the hierarchy. So y'all have been great. Go use it. Appreciate y'all.